So the breaking down of the divine families. People don't see it. They just see God as like one absolute because Abraham and his journey and how they wrote the Bible, or how the people who, left behind the Bible. They pretty much recorded it the way they wanted to record it because they won whatever spiritual war or aspect. They survived it. It's not even about winning at this point. They survived their own cataclysm, and then went to war based on God, or like women was kind of like you got to pay attention to the movies and then read books that are based around like holy scripture or in some way. A lot of Asiatic books, a lot of comic books, a lot of anime, even them like they go back and when they talk about ancient Britannia and the holy war against the demon race and stuff like that, you think that it's just some anime shit or it's a cartoon, but it's really like drawn from like the religious beliefs that we have as humans and like in our existence. Like we seem to like base our life off of it. Like even like like I'll start with Rome. Well, I'll start with Babylon because that's where I'm at right now. I'm in what would be known as a new Babylon. Like don't get me twisted. Like ancient Babylon. Well, there was more than one Babylon. One thing. It's just like Atlantis. There was more than one Atlantis. It's like multiple. Like it's like a culture. It's more like the Atlanteans were on this world at a time where every person might have been considered an Atlantean. Is like the Sumerians were on this world when at a time where they believed like everybody might have been just considered either a child of man or child of the ones above, or child of the gods, or a mixed breed, at that moment. And even going into like Roman culture with their beliefs, is theirs were technically like passed down beliefs. Like I want you to know, like besides the wars and everything and certain other major events like earthquakes and volcanoes erupting back then, like life was kind of like how it is now. Like like just the Bible kind of puts like this mythical like aura on it, and then when you read the Sumerian text, or when you read the translated text like everybody else, it kind of has like mix science in with miracles, but it's more of like you know that they're using science and high tech devices, and then even when you dig into the Bible, you can tell. But the thing is, the Bible it'll explain a family, but it'll explain it in a way of a holy trinity, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily remove the mother, but it changes the aspect of the mother and glorifies the father, like which technically if you read most of them, most of these books, they'll glorify the male energy or the aspect of the male energy anyway. And in the beginning of all of them, they'll give way of the theory of the mother, which is where we break into the family. So if you start off with like the Babylonians, like of course you would if you actually read for those who read Emerald Text or listened to the videos or watched the audiobooks or whatever, then you know that it all started with like the Lyarians and the Draconians and different things like that, and the Palladians, and most of that's integrated. Like that's actually integrated, but it can be challenged that it's integrated and can be actually possibly sourced out like the Bible, because a lot of this stuff is older than 2,000 years. It's just been recently translated. This stuff be like on tablets, like tens of thousands of tablets be talking about this, and you don't know if these people were authors who just did books back then like we write books now. But you got to think they're going to write about the things that they're seeing. They're not going to just write about imaginary things. Like I don't think, I mean, I know we make movies about imagine. Never mind. Let's get off of that. Let's go back to this whole divine family thing. So we have, you know, what transpired on Nibiru that gave way to kingship, because that's where if you go you read that, or you read that, or you listen to the audiobooks, you'll understand that the establishment of kingship and royal bloodlines or whatever, and the ways to work it and all of their laws and stuff, they brought that down here and bestowed that up on man. At least that's one of the cultural beliefs that come out of the Sumerian and Babylonian text. So but you got Anu, which is basically, I don't really know too much about Alalu, because it tells you about Alalu, and it tells you that he even had wives and he even had sons, but You got to actually pay attention to to characters. Like right now, I'm kind of stuck on a Marduk character and following, trying to figure out exactly who he was and pertaining to divine families, because it's so real. Because even in the Bible, the representation of the archetypes of the archangels of the Lord, and even going into like Melchizedek and who he is, and all of that can relate or kind of tie into the Sumerian text, and can go and can coexist going with Sophia and Lilith, because that's in like books that are like, I guess, forbidden or whatever. People say forbidden because it's like an apocrypha or whatever. Things like, Pistis Sophia, and these are referenced because if you read like the secret book of John or the apocrypha of John, it even tells you like it explains it in like a way. If you pay attention, it starts with one being that transcends, and from this one being is a reflect in a foresight. It becomes multiple beings. Like it's like androgynous forms existed in a way that we couldn't understand in these bodies with this mind. You could technically understand it. We're actually enlightened beings. Like we're enlightened, but we're physical beings. Like we're literally physical. Like, and we bear likeness above, so below, and the so above and below are the realms that are below, above and below us, beyond this known and seen physical universe that we can observe, the observable physical universe, everything that we can see and touch. There's things beyond what we see and what we can feel. Like it's things here beyond this planet, like what we walk on. Like it's realms that exist here with us beyond it. Like we can't see it, and it's honestly, it's physical realms that exist beyond this, like both spiritual and physical realms that exist in the same area but are beyond the sight of man. And that's like another, that's another thing pertaining to the divine family, because Sophia herself is around, Lilith herself is around, Garadamus himself is around. So when you would think about it, like when you go into the beginnings of the Sumerian text, like Tiamat and Kangu can be considered realms, not necessarily just planets, but realms, not necessarily just suns or quasars or different things like that, but actual realms of existence. Like within them there are life, like there are existence, and this is like, it's like us. You don't know if if your body's an actual universe and it's an Osmosis Jones scenario going on inside of you. You don't know. You don't know that when you get sick, you take a pill, that thing becomes some sort of super warrior, walk around with your little Osmosis Jones fighting crime, kicking the shit out that cold that's in you. Bro, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know if it's multiple ones in there, if that shit is big as the universe. They only in your damn heart and are occupying one part of your body. They don't know about the other stuff, the beings that reside in your brain, but or maybe your whole body is connected. You don't know. Maybe your whole body is running all together, and you think it's just on surface connected, but that's getting off the subject. So you go into like even Michelangelo and Joshua, the archetypes, Miriam, Muriel, Azazul, Azuriel. You get into all of these angels, even Joshua, the archangels. You get into all of these light beings. They represent the children of God, what I'm saying. So but when you come into like the aspect of like the Enuma Elish, then you follow Anu, Ea, Anki, what I'm saying, and Lil, their children, Marduk, Dumuzi, Ninkashita. You follow like that whole pantheon, even going down to like, because technically when you get into Tiamat and Atemo, they're also children of because they were created but they are modified, but literally they're literal children. These are ones that came, these are ones that were carried by Anunnaki, or women that were bred on their home planet, because it's a part in there where they talk about they took a certain group of women and they bear their children on Nibiru. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. But anyway, and then you get into like the Greek pantheon. When you go into like Zeus and Athena and Apollo, you got to realize that Apollo in some stories, in traditional sense of Roman tradition or Greek tradition, in some stories Apollo himself is a pure god, and he's Zeus's son. You feel me? And Poseidon himself, he has sons, and that's Zeus's brother. And above them, they have a Kronos and a Gaia, who could possibly represent Tiamat and Kangu, or Kangu from the first origin stories. And Ashar, and and even Ea, and Anki himself in the Sumerian text. It's like if you read that text, they're getting their names from stories told to them on their planet. Like their traditional names are passing down, however it's passing down, their level of enlightenment, however long they existed. Because if you pay attention to it, they had an evolutionary track much like ours. It's just it blink of an eye type shit. Like you got to get sci-fi with your imagination to actually capture what I'm saying. You notice in some of these paintings, it depicts like faces when God is touching the man's finger, and you look inside of that cloud that God's in. It's like it's not. People think that it's like little baby angels and shit, but if you pay attention, his whole body it looks like a family with God. Like, and some people think that that's a Pistis, that's Sophia and Lilith and a few other people who came with him, saying that God was coming in with the family. So I mean, and sometimes I don't even reference this as God. I reference this as the ones of the old way, because the spirit and the creator is something that's just the father is something you can't imagine. But it's like we all know. We all know. You just can't imagine it. But like it's like deep down inside, you just know, and that's why you refuse to give up on that. And it's not just about worship; it's about honoring. And it's literally about that, because some of these books weren't even they weren't what they didn't come from Sumerian tablets, and then some of them came from a whole nother enlightened path. It's as if there were other Anunnaki beings or other things that came from realms and above and different, and they had their message too. Now, while if you do the Anunnaki research, it does sound like they were coming here to take resources and whatever else they could get from this planet, and pretty much just F off like regular humans, and pretty much just mess the world up however they work. They even went to war. But if you pay attention in the Bible, it was somebody down here going to war in that thing too, because God was taking the Israelites on a war path. Like when you think about it, he brought them out of Egypt and took the mugs to war. And before that, it looked like they was in the Bible just going to war. Like came from Cain and Abel, knocking Abel over the head, and blah 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 blah. It's like it's just been, oh my God, this bloodshed. It need to stop. And the whole thing was like, if you pay attention to any of these books, it's always families. Even in the Bible, when it says God was amongst the seraphim, he was amongst powerful beings that could stand in his presence, and he asked the devil where he said he had not seen the devil, in a sense. Like that's why I'd be like, yo, technically, whoever that person is, that person's related to God directly, whether child or brother or father figure or whatever, but he's related directly. But most people, you can't have that conversation with them because they're like super Christians or super pistis, whatever, whatever, whatever. And when I say like, you gotta understand, look up the word of pistis. I want you guys to all look up the word of pistis. I'm pretty sure it means gene modification. So if anybody says you come from a pistis, they're literally telling you come from gene splicing. You come from gene modification. So, and me myself, I'd be like, whatever, dog. If I come from a pistis, and I'm pretty sure Homozol breaks down to some scientific term as well. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to do research on it. But these are different things that keep me thinking and keep me up at night sometimes. But with that royal family and pertaining to it, it even has this origin. Everybody that claims Egyptian, I don't really research the full Egyptian pantheon with Horus and Seth and Anubis, and everybody like that with the pharaoh, and how everybody in that area that was a king thought they were God for some kingship. But most people gotta think that or realize that even Caesar at one point, the great Caesars, thought that they had enough power to even rival Zeus himself, which means they were challenging God, at any given time. That's what man has been down here doing. We're ignorant sometimes, like I told you. Ignorant is blissful. If God takes too long to speak to us, we think he's not listening. And we start shit. Don't blame people like to go through and I don't care. Get ruthless. Say whatever you say. Express yourself. I'm gonna express mine either way. I'm gonna shoot a movie. Y'all, I woke up this morning and I was like, man, I'll shoot a ninja movie. But I gotta make myself. I gotta do it myself though. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna premiere this live, so when you watch this, make sure you watch. I hope you watched it to the end, and you're right here, right now. I got some new merchandise on my website. I am hitting my goals. Say that with me right now. I am hitting all of my goals this year. I am hitting all of my goals this year. I am hitting all of my goals this year. Stay up.